Hey, what's up, guys? Just a little bit more to talk about with you here today. I wanted to look at something special. So after Larry Doby finally came through, and he's had kind of an on and off season for Cleveland so far here in 1949, I wanted to talk about what they call clutch performance. Now, we can talk about it in sabermetric terms. I think many of you know that most sabermetricians don't consider clutch to really be anything or to really mean anything. But fortunately, we don't just have to talk about things in the abstract here. We can talk about what happens in Diamond Mine baseball. So let's go take a look at this. Wow, I have completely disappeared, of course. And let's see what I can figure out here as my screen is kind of big. This happens a lot. You've probably noticed this in videos that I've done so far, where my face will change sizes from video to video. This isn't because I want to do it. This is because of these OBS settings and this particular computer. For some reason, the webcam I'm using now likes to reset itself every time I restart my computer, but my other webcam doesn't. So I don't really understand why. Some of the mysteries of computing. So I'll have to move my face around a little bit as we talk about this. Hopefully you won't mind too much. You can see here, as I alluded to, the Indians now half a game out of first place right behind the Red Sox, and we'll see what happens when the Athletics and Yankees play in what will be another big game. But the interesting thing here is not necessarily that. The interesting thing here happens over in our organizers. So remember yesterday we talked about the early version, the demo version of Pursue the Pennant Baseball that goes all the way back to 1993. Well, you'll remember when we were talking there about the organizer, what is now the organizer at least, there was a way you could change like the team, parks, the leagues, organization, I think, is a new thing now, the eras, schedule, and stuff like that. Yeah, this is where these settings come into play, right? So the way to get to this again is you go over here to view and then organizer. How do I know to do that? Because I've played this game for like 20-something years, right? If you're brand new to the game and you come over here to this blank screen and you're like, okay, I want to set up my league. You're like, what do I do? Maybe I go to tools. You can install the season, but you can't really do a whole lot else there. You just have to know it's under your view. Why is it under view? I don't know. Because this was made back before people knew how to make Windows applications. Anyway, so you go over to view and organizer, and you can, we go to this before we look at parks and stuff like that. We can look at the players, look at the leagues. What we want to look at here is organization. So I have the two leagues sort of combined. This is where you can change the rules and the options. What we're talking about here, and what's most interesting to us, is this: use clutch system. You'll see that this is not checked. And so what does it mean when the clutch system is not checked? It means that we're not using the clutch system. What is the clutch system? Well, we'll go and we'll take a look over here, and we'll figure this out. Clutch rating system over here. And let's look at clutch and jam ratings, right? So this is one of these things. It's actually not unique to Diamond Mine Baseball. This, I believe, if I remember right, also exists in Strat-O-Matic. I can't remember if in the Strat-O-Matic board game this is something that is optional or not. It's been a little while since I've played. I think that the clutch system in Strat-O-Matic is optional, if I remember correctly, but I might be wrong on that. My apologies again that I can't make this bigger. I know that this is probably completely impossible for you to read, but I'll read it to you. All Diamond Mine Baseball batters have clutch ratings, and all Diamond Mine pitchers have jam ratings. Why are they called different things? I don't know. Whatever. Both ratings are used to raise the level of performance in the late innings of close games. Diamond Mine Baseball gives out a limited number of good clutch and jam ratings each season, and these players are more valuable in those late inning situations. But the baseball research community, aka sabermetricians, have yet to find any compelling evidence that certain players are able to raise their game consistently in these situations. The evidence seems to suggest that any apparent clutch performance is an illusion, that the laws of chance predict that some players are going to be up, some down, and some normal when you choose any subset of 50 to 60 at-bats out of his total for the season. Right? Now, that's a key, right? We talked about this before. We talked about ballpark effects and stuff like that. Let me say that again. The evidence is that any sort of performance by players will sometimes be better, sometimes worse, and sometimes normal in any subset of 50 or 60 at-bats in the season, right? And that will count for a lot of these little finicky things that we're trying to adjust for when we're creating our games. Sometimes the things you think you're seeing in statistics could be an illusion. Anyway, so the fact that a player raised his game in the 50 to 60 at-bats that fit the late inning close game definition probably means he was just lucky, right? Calling Tom Tango, you could probably prove this for us. Consequently, we give you the option to use the clutch ratings or to turn them off. If you use them, batters and pitchers with better than normal clutch and jam ratings will be a little better than usual in late innings of close games. But this isn't a strong factor in the design of the game, so we recommend that you avoid placing a lot of weight on these ratings when making your decisions. It's rarely a good idea to use a weaker player over a better one just because the weaker player may have a better clutch or jam rating. Now, it says here, copyright 2022 by Imagine Sports. I can assure you that this is the exact same language that came with Diamond Mine Baseball 22 years ago. I would be very surprised if this language were any different than whatever came with whatever help file or manual that came with the game back in 1993. I think it's exactly the same. I think it's been that way since the first version. Right. Basically, what this means is that while there is a clutch version of the game, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's probably a really small difference, just in case you want to play with it. Personally, I don't actually know anybody who uses the clutch or jam system in Diamond Mine Baseball. I mean, most people I know just turn it off and figure that you're going for overall accuracy and what happens. And, yeah, of course you want to have, Lou Gehrig or Babe Ruth hitting, when it's the ninth inning, right? You would always want to have them hitting, right? It doesn't matter if they have good or bad clutch ratings, kind of silly to think otherwise. If you go over here to league rules and options, and the help file will tell you the exact same thing that we just went through and read. I'm just going to look at this really quickly because you know me, I don't ever look at things beforehand. And yeah, there's not much here about this other than just to look at clutch and jam ratings for more information. If we click over here on clutch ratings, we might be able to find a little bit more in the player offensive rating. And it just says, clutch rating, this rating indicates whether the batter is especially tough in late inning situations where the score is close. A great clutch hitter is rated as a terror while others are normal. I think we only have terror and normal. I don't think that there's any other rating here. No matter how you define a clutch situation, hitters tend to hit just as well or badly in those situations as they do overall, given a statistically meaningful number of plate appearances. Of course, when we talk about this, we can come back with the argument that, a guy, how many real clutch situations are you going to get in a game, right? You're always only going to have so many potential clutch situations in any season. So it's going to be really hard to show that this works. You'd have to have a player who plays over the long haul over a large number of seasons, in which case any sort of clutch ability he has probably comes out in the wash, right? As a result, the clutch rating system is only a minor factor in your Diamond Mine Baseball games, and we don't give out a lot of terror ratings. When we do, we assign them to players who hit very well and better than their normal level in the late innings of close games in that particular season. It would be interesting to look at a bunch of different Diamond Mine seasons and see how the clutch ratings compare for a bunch of different players. Now, what did we see in today's game? Well, we saw Larry Doby, so I'm kind of curious to know. I don't pay much attention to this rating, and I don't even have it turned on. And when I double-click on him, his clutch rating is normal. So he doesn't have any special ability to do what he just did today, and yet he still won the game with a clutch base hit. So there you go. We can look at somebody else, right? We're in the Ds. We might as well look at Jolton Joe, and his clutch rating is also normal. He's very injury-prone, though, because he missed half the season with an injury. All right, we could look at somebody else. We could go look at Ted Williams and see how he's doing in 49, his finest season. His clutch rating is terror. So if we had that on, he would get a little bit of a bump. As if you needed a bump for the guy who had, the OPS of 1100 or whatever it is. I think he'll do just fine. And then the last one I want to look up, of course, is your friend and mine, Ralph Kiner. And Kiner had, a normal clutch rating. So, but you'd always want Kiner to come up in that situation. Anyway, there you go. So much for clutch ratings and stuff like that. I'd love to know what you think about it, if you think that it really means anything, if you prefer games that have those ratings, or if you prefer to sort of ignore them the way that I do. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's a good idea, good theory, or if you just think it's a bunch of hogwash. And it'll be an interesting discussion. I will talk with you later. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.